Hello. I have been somewhat distracted lately because last Thursday I got married, which was very exciting, and I am now a wife, which is really odd, but we're very happy. I will put the thread of everything if you want to see it. It's up to you, down in the description, so you can go on Twitter and look at the thread. And speaking of Twitter, books aren't really the main focus of my channel anymore, but I do still read just as much as always, and I talk about it more on Twitter than I do here. So if you want to catch up on what I'm reading, or indeed stuff that I'm writing, then head there. Recently I took part in a readathon called Strangeathon, which is like a Halloween type thing. And it had a few challenges, and you just have to read along to those challenges. And I was in Team Undead, and our challenges were to read a book that had nothing to do with the readathon, because these things always happen. You always begin by already reading a book that you're already reading. Read something with orange or red on the cover. Something with a skeleton on the cover, some sort of Halloween monster on the cover, and an unreliable narrator. And I forget what the last one is because I didn't get that far. And the first one, the book that I was already reading before I began, was The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer. And I was surprised by how much I enjoyed and loved this. I didn't agree with her on everything. Do I agree that she does come from a place of privilege when it comes to crowdfunding her art stuff? Yes, of course, she's a white lady, and she did come from a label, although the label was very unhelpful for her. They didn't do anything for her. They did do some things, but not what she would hope. And most people know her from the controversy over Kickstarter. Obviously it was a new kind of thing, and people were very suspicious, and still kind of are, and feel like it's a grift, but the one thing that you get from this book is you really get to understand that she didn't just see Kickstarter and think, I can have a go at that. It's the way that she's always operated. She's always had this kind of, and to me it sometimes seemed kind of naive. It's not stuff that I would do. I wouldn't go on a book tour and stay in strangers' houses. I would never do that. But that is something that she does and has always done. I mean, I think because it seems so outside of the norm, it's very bohemian, and there are people who've always done that kind of thing, but that's just the way that she does it. It's not for me, but it works for her. And people thought at the time that she wasn't paying her band, when she did have her band, and she points out that they actually were on a salary. But she'd always had this thing where if you were in the area and you had an instrument and you wanted to come on and have a go, feel free. So it sort of answered a lot of questions, and I like Amanda Palmer anyway. I enjoy her stuff. I love her and Neil Gaiman. Yes, I found it very interesting and informative and inspiring artistically, just in the sense of making you feel like you can sort of reach out and form fans that are not necessarily fans. They're more like people on your level and friends, and I do feel like I've made friends online, writery friends. I never ever see people that I talk to online as fans, because I don't feel like they are really fans. They like my stuff, I like their stuff, or we just get on, stuff like that. So yeah, that was the first one. And the second book that I read was for the red cover, had red on the cover, and that was Parasyte by Hitoshi Iwaaki. and that's a manga from, I believe, the 90s, and it's really good fun. I read the first, I think, 3 books of it, and I want to continue actually. It's quite actiony, unusual. This lad has, there's been like an invasion of these parasites, and some of them are taking over people completely, others are taking over animals, but this lad gets one stuck in his hand, so he's got like he can communicate with it. He's still got his brain, whereas others haven't, and there's bits that are quite icky where you see like someone eating a person or a dog eating a dog, or so yeah, it's good. The one with the skeleton on the cover, I sort of took a liberty with that because it didn't really have a skeleton on the cover, but it kind of did. It was a very thin person, and that was Machinations and Mesmerism, edited by Farah Rose Smith, and they are stories inspired by E.T.A. Hoffmann, and he's got some quite well-known stories out there. I was not aware of the gentleman's name, but I did know of the stories. He wrote The Nutcracker and The Sandman. Some of them are very gothic and spooky, whilst others are more whimsical in nature. And so I enjoyed these a lot. Some of them are like kind of hark back to that Victorian musty kind of the smell of old books kind of way of talking, whereas others are more straight to the point. There was the odd one that sounded like a fairy tale, much as I imagine the Nutcracker did, and I really enjoyed one of them that kind of had a Russian absurdist feel, so that's automatically going to make me love it because I love Russian absurdism, which was by Jayaprakash Satyamurthy. I wanted to get that name right, I couldn't get that name wrong. So yeah, I recommend that. And for the Halloween monster on the cover, I listened to The Vampyre by John Polidori. I also ended up listening to an E.T.A. Hoffmann story, The Sandman, which I found a good copy of someone reading it on YouTube, and I will link both the John Polidori story and E.T.A. Hoffmann down in the description if you wish. I enjoyed The Vampyre. You kind of have to take it in the sense of he wasn't a professional writer the way Byron was. He was Byron's doctor. He was involved in the whole Villa Diodati thing with Mary Shelley, etc. And it's fascinating because The Vampyre, you can really feel he drew a lot of inspiration from Byron. There was a kind of love-hate thing there, I feel, and so yeah, you kind of get an inkling into the man, the myth, the legend. So I'll link those down below. And for the Unreliable Narrator Challenge, I've got halfway through and haven't finished yet, reading Sick Grey Laugh by Nicole Cushing, and I absolutely love this book. It's kind of mind-boggling because it's done as a kind of non-fiction, and yet I feel like the main thread of the stuff that she's writing about is fiction, because I did look up some information on them and couldn't find anything. It's about a town where in middle America that the author feels is kind of drenched in this greyness, which is satanic in nature and kind of slows everyone down into a depression. It's a really interesting idea. She's sprinkled in talk of real novels and real novelists and that kind of thing to sort of throw you off and make you question which bits are real history or not. I don't think that the main thread of what she's discussing is real. I looked it up, I couldn't find anything. But highly recommended, and I also recommend the others. So thanks very much. Enjoy not Halloween anymore, although it's always Halloween really. Okay, goodbye.